So simplifying the chaos, looking at the factors that shape our understanding of Islam in the contemporary world. The slides are available on this. Okay, so if you want to access the slides, they will be available on this Google Drive. Okay, this and all the slides previously will be available there. At the end of the class, they will be uploaded, inshallah. But the rest of the lectures are there. I recommend you having a look at them, inshallah, going through them when you have time, and make time. This is your faith. You need to know something about your faith. The amount of confusion that exists in this age is perhaps unlike any other age. You've got to know things now. You know, no longer do you have the luxury of not knowing. You have to. So a recap: Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, obviously a term designated for mainstream Sunni Orthodox Muslims, defined by followers of the four schools, and obviously in Aqidah, the Ash'aris and the Maturidis, and obviously the non-anthropomorphists of the Athari and Hadith Hanbalis. And the third and very important aspect is Ihsan, Tasawwuf, to worship Allah as if you see Him. That is traditionally the expertise of Tasawwuf as grounded in the Quran and Sunnah. And this is being what the vast majority of Muslims, or the vast majority of time, have followed. Leadership. So we're going to focus on leadership, and you'll find out today why I'm picking on the topic of leadership. It should be quite clear towards the end of the class why I've chosen to pick on or look at leadership. So we know, class before last Monday, we spoke about leadership according to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. In the previous lecture, we have explored what Ahlul Sunnah says about the position of leadership. This is known as the imamate in Arabic, or the imam. In Arabic also Khalifa or Caliph in English, or Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of the faithful. Generally terms designated for the leader of the Muslims. Right? We're going to focus on the term Khalifa or Caliph. We have looked at the first leaders of Islam, and the first four, and they were called Al-Khulafa al-Rashidin, as based on the Hadith, the righteous caliphs, how their leadership was established, and the conditions set out by the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah based on this period. Now, obviously, this leads us on to the companions, the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Messenger of God had taught his companions everything that he had been commanded to by Allah. Few mistakes here, as you can see. The Sahaba had witnessed the highest form of human perfection in his example as teacher, father, military and political leader. My Wednesday classes, inshallah, are focused on this in a lot of depth. If you haven't come to that class, I fully recommend you attending the Wednesday class. At the end, there'll be a poster for that, inshallah. And the Sahaba obviously travelled and sat with the Prophet in times of difficulty and ease, and absorbed some of his qualities. As a result, Ahlul Sunnah say that the companions reached the highest levels of human perfection outside of prophecy messengerhood. He, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, was the best teacher and had left the best pupils for mankind to teach and spread the message of Islam. Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the merit of the Sahaba. Ahlul Sunnah have agreed that the best of people after the Messenger are from amongst the Sahaba, and they rank, according to some scholars, in this rank. The four caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali, the 10 Sahaba have been told that they are from the inhabitants of heaven, the participants in the Battle of Badr, and so on, and so on, and so forth. The appointment of Abu Bakr as the first caliph, we mentioned this in the class before last. Again, this is all a recap. The Muslims elected the Prophet's companion Abu Bakr to provide political and judicial leadership. He had no direct divine inspiration and was not receiving revelation. He initially did not want the position, but the Sahaba nominated him, and we spoke about that in the class before last. Eventually, all the Sahaba, that's very important, all the Sahaba gave him the oath of allegiance. In English, in Arabic, bay'ah, in English, allegiance, bay'ah. And this stabilized the Ummah at that particular moment in time. And this was the case for the other rightly guided caliphs, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. Alright, and from this, the condition of the caliph, it is wajib to appoint a leader over the Muslims. The Muslims can never go without having a leader or some kind of leadership or head of the particular state. The majority of scholars say that it must be from the tribe of Quraysh, as the hadith of the Messenger ﷺ specifically indicate this. The Imams are from Quraysh. But the appointment needs to be made by what's called Ahl al-Hilli wal-Aqd, a term referring to the most wisest of people who hold positions of knowledge, piety, and leadership amongst the people. So these people get together and they, between themselves, they nominate somebody outside of themselves to be the leader. Unless there's somebody else better, then one of them will be the leader. Similar to how a pope is elected, right? Popes, they go and get in the room, they kind of pick amongst themselves, and they break the chimney, the smoke, over there, or whatever. And they act as consultation. They act as consultation and must have the best interests of Muslims. They discuss the matter between themselves and may seek opinion from the wider Muslims who have knowledge and expertise. Whoever they nominate is the caliph, in Arabic Khalifa, and they then give the bay'ah, allegiance to him. The leader must therefore be a Qurayshi, upright, religiously, nominated via consultation by the Ahl al-Aqd, and then given a bay'ah to. This is what happened to Umar, Abu Bakr, Uthman, Ali. Alright, we mentioned there was a mistake class before last. It's now been corrected. It was Uthman here, 23 to 35. Alright? So Abu Bakr, couple of years, right? Umar, just about 10 years. Uthman,
12 years.
12. Sayyidina Ali,
5.
5. And Hassan, the son of Sayyidina Ali, held it for about 6 months before handing it to Muawiyah from the companions. And the hadith says the caliphate is 30 years, then it will be kingship, mulk. We'll be looking at this in a few slides. Ahmed, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and Nasai. Imam Masyuti says there were none within the 30 years, the hadith mentions, after the death of the messenger, except the 4 caliphs and the days or the 6 months or so on and so forth of Sayyidina Hassan. So the idea that the caliphate is 30 years, as prophesied by our Prophet, encapsulates those 4 and Sayyidina Hassan precisely. Alright, this is hadiths on the Khilafah and leadership. This is quite important. There will be prophethood amongst you for as long as Allah wills it to be. Then He, Allah, will remove it when He wills. And that's with the taking of the blessed soul of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then there will be Khilafah on the prophetic methodology for as long as Allah wills. Then He, Allah, will remove it whenever He wills. Then there will be biting kingship for as long as Allah wills. Then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be oppressive tyrants, kingship, as leadership, for as long as Allah wills. Then He, Allah, will remove it when He wills. And then there will be khilafah upon the prophetic methodology, a khilafah al-minhaj al-nabuwah, and then the Prophet remains silent, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the hadith is narrated by Imam Ahmed. Now, if you were to boil that down, essentially we've got 4 stages of leadership that this ummah will see, or has seen and will see. Khilafah. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and Hassan. Then kingship, and that phase was kicked in by Muawiyah and the companions, kingship. Then the oppressive tyrant stage, and most scholars say that's the current stage we're in right now. Current, oppressive tyrants in leadership. And then khilafah upon the prophetic methodology. It's interesting that ISIS, they use this quite a lot. Familiar with the propaganda that those people used? They literally took that piece of the hadith and said, we are the khilafah on the prophetic methodology. And a lot of young, foolish ignorant people got swayed in by that particular hadith. They say, oh, subhanAllah, the hadith is there. MashaAllah. And they're saying it's them. And the hadith says that. So, Bismillah. Thousands. Hadith of Khilafah and leadership are two. The Caliphate or the Khilafah in my Ummah will be 30 years. Obviously, we're aware of this. Then it will be kingship, mulk. This hadith also you're familiar with. Imam Masuki says, none were in the 30 days after the death of the Messenger except the 4 caliphs in the days of Hassan. And again, Muawiyah ushered in the phase of kingship. The third collection of hadiths that are important for us to know. There will be after me caliphs, khulafa. Then after the caliphs there will be leaders, umara. Then after the umara, kings. Then after the kings there will be tyrants. This is quite important. Then a man will appear from my household, Ahl Bayt, who will fill the earth with justice as it had been filled with injustice. And that's hadith narrated by Imam al-Tabarani. The scholars say that the man that is referred to in the hadith will appear, and he will be the Mahdi, as you are mostly, I hope, aware of. And that will be near the end of time. Who is familiar with the concept of the Mahdi in Sunni Islam? Hands up high so I can see. Before we go on, just in terms of the phases, what do you see in terms of those phases? That the prophetic, the Khilafah and the prophetic methodology will be who? Who said that? Yeah, hands up. The Mahdi. Okay, according to Sunni Islam, the prophesied Khilafah towards the end that we are awaiting will be the Mahdi. That's massively important, because if you don't know that, you can be swayed by all the madness that is going around in this day and age. Anybody claiming that they are the Khilafah and Manhaj al-Nubuwwah, you are liars, you are Dajjals, Shayateen, because you are not the Mahdi. Okay? And some people will claim and have claimed that they were the Mahdi historically. Anybody know of what was his name? I don't know. Juhayman.
The one from Mecca.
Yeah.
Mecca.
Yeah, him. Nobody familiar with him? Again, you guys, what was his full name? Juhayman or something.
I don't think he was Sunni though.
No topic, just a name for now. Anyway. Alright, pay attention. Distinctive features of Ahl Sunnah when it comes to this topic. This is massively important. Please pay attention. If you miss something tonight, it's going to mess you up later on in the lecture. Alright? Focus, wake up, do whatever you've got to do, but focus tonight, please. According to Ahl Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ had not specified or appointed a particular leader, Imam, Caliph, by name to succeed him after his death. Massively important you understand that going forward. Sunni, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we do not believe that the Prophet specifically appointed somebody to succeed him by name, specifically. Okay? Every single word has been picked there on purpose, inshallah. Number 2, distinctive feature, their deep respect and love for all in capitals, the companions of the Messenger, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Aisha, etc., etc., including, massively important, his own family known as Ahl Bayt, the people of the household, specifically Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, and their offspring. From now on going forward, when I mention Ahl Bayt, which translates as the people of the household, I'm not referring to your household or my household, I'm referring to the Prophet's household. And when I say the Prophet's household, I'm referring to Ali and Fatima, his wife, and their children, Hassan and Hussein, and their children. Please get that. Make a note of that. Alright? That's the household. Ahlul Bayt. And the idea that we love both. The Quran and Hadith inform us of the immense qualities, merit of both groups of Sahaba. Right? Both groups. All the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt. Who are also Sahaba as well. True believers love them both. It also warns us against hating either one. Okay? Who can answer that question? Hands up. I don't want to guess, I want to answer. Based on knowledge. Hands up. Just one hand. Based on knowledge, not a guess. I don't want guesses. There's not an arena of guesses. It's an arena of knowledge. So if you know, put your hand. If you don't know, not even an educated guess. I want to know these things. Educated guesses outside the door. So, all the hands have gone now. Where the hands gone? Okay, Abdullah.
Faith, because it's a day-to-day issue. Well, it's not something to do with belief.
Why not?
Because I don't think it has anything to do with the 6 pillars of belief.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So, the answer, Ahl Sunnah say that it is an issue of fiqh, the four madhabs, and not an issue of aqidah. Again, this is last week's lecture, or the week before last. Some sects have made it an issue of creed, which means that your Islam pivots on getting the right answer. Some sects, if you don't believe in a particular leader, then you're outside of Islam. Alright, that's a kind of domain or area that we're going to be exploring. And obviously they are people of bid'ah, innovation. They're not Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This is today's lecture. Our famous diagram. The blue really is Muslims. You know, also Ahlul Bid'ah is, but generally the blue encapsulates all Muslims. We need to make a note of that one day. And in the green is Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay? Both are Muslims, but one is following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And those outside, still Muslim, but they are called Ahlul Bid'ah because they have kind of moved away from the mainstream Orthodox way. Both are Muslim. And obviously, both say Shahada, both face the Qibla, both pray 5 times a day, and both eat halal food. The general kind of things that Muslims do. Obviously, outside of that, there are non-Muslims. But you kind of get the idea. We're going to be focusing on the blue. The last semester we focused on the green. Should now be fully competent and understand pretty well Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Alright? Now we're going to be focusing on this semester the blue. Alright? Distinctive features of Ahlul Bid'ah. People of innovation, not Ahlul Sunnah. Pay attention. Number 1, hatred, cursing, abusing, and false claims against the Sahaba, such as Abu Bakr, Umar, Aisha, and Abu Hurairah, and others. Right? Cursing Abu Bakr, cursing Umar, false claims, lies, slander. These are the distinguishing features of the people of innovation. Okay? And I'm not going to go into the type of things they say because that's not the time or the place. Going on part 2 of the same people, going into excessiveness in their praise of Ahlul Bayt. I put excessiveness there in bold. Right? Excessiveness. Because we are, the people, the household of the Prophet Muhammad, these are elevated people. Alright? They are elevated people. That's Ahlul Sunnah, Sunni Islam, recognize they have a merit. Alright? And as Muslims, we should respect and we should love Ahlul Bayt. Simple as that. But some have gone to excessiveness in that, and I appreciate that some may not even understand the whole concept of Ahlul Bayt, but hopefully throughout the class, towards the end of the class, you'll understand a bit more about that. So excessiveness in their praise of Ahlul Bayt by inventing innovative beliefs, such as the Prophet appointing Ali as his successor, and a whole other range of beliefs that we will touch on tonight. Ahl Sunnah have called this behavior raf, which means to reject. And the group who do this are Rawafida. Okay, Rawafida, the rejectors. And you could say that these are the Shia. Okay, generally speaking, this kind of generally refers to the Shia. Classical Islam refers to the Shia, which is our topic tonight, as the Rawafida or Raf. I am looking at the Shia through the lens of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's massively important. I'm looking at the Shia from the viewpoint of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I'm not looking at the Shia as they view themselves. I'm looking at the Shia as the classical Orthodox Islam, Sunni Islam, looks at them. Okay? And I'm trying my best to be as fair as possible, because obviously it's difficult, but I hope I think I've done a good job, inshallah ta'ala, inshallah. So the Rawafida will be called the Shia. Okay, Rawafida. So if you hear the term Rawafida, it refers to who? The Shia. Okay? And the reason why they're called the Rawafid, the rejectors, is because Sayyidina Ali, I think the fourth or fifth grandson of the Prophet, two people who from the extreme sect of Shias came to him and said to him, what do you say about Abu Bakr and Umar? And he said, and obviously they came to him because he's from the Prophet's family. And he said, they were the advisors of my grandfather. In other words, these are great people. And these people were hoping he was going to curse Abu Bakr and curse Umar, and they never got that result. So they said, why are you defending these people? Blah 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 blah. It's like cursing. And then Sayyidina Ali, the fourth or fifth grandson, then said, you are the Rawafida, you are the rejectors. And so that term has been placed historically from that. The Rawafida, that term, people who reject Abu Bakr and Umar, generally called the Rawafida. That's what some scholars say that's where the name comes from. Alright, that's one group, or one extreme. There's also another extreme we need to look at too. Distinguishing features of Ahl Bid'ah according to Ahl Sunnah. There's another group. Two sides of the same coin. I've just showed you one coin, one side of the coin. I'm going to flip the coin and show you the other side. Hatred, jealousy, cursing, insulting, lies, disrespecting, and lessening the status and importance of Ahl Bayt and their descendants. Okay, that's one side. Cursing the Prophet's family, having jealousy towards the Prophet's family, insulting, lies, and disrespecting, and lessening the importance of the Prophet's family and their descendants. Opposite, right? What was before?
Excessive love.
And this one?
Hatred.
Yeah. Opposite side, right? Ahl Sunnah have called this behavior nasb, and the group as nawasib. Alright? So in classical books, historically, this type of behavior is called nasb or nawasib. So you'll find that people who take this approach rarely ever talk about the Prophet's family. Rarely. Alright? And there's a big focus on Abu Bakr and Umar. Alright? And no mention of Ali And no mention of Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein, no mention at all. Kind of just whitewash. Question at the end, there's a lot to do. Obviously, last Friday's khutbah was this, for those who are awake, and those of you who are awake now. That was last week's khutbah, right? One guy to trick you. I brought up something and say that was last week's khutbah. Right. You guys are lying. That was last Friday's khutbah. The Muslim is the one who others are safe from their tongues and their hands. Right, now you're going to ask, well, what does that have anything to do with the forces shaping our understanding of Islam today? Can anybody tell me? What? Okay, sounds interesting. But what does that have to do with the actual topic? This is where you put your hands up. I sit down and you guys put your hands up. What does that have to do? Why is that important? Why have I even spent hours preparing this for you and sat here tonight discussing this? Why is it important? In this context. Lincoln.
It could explain inter-conflict between Muslims into present day.
Yes, it could explain
Conflict.
Inter-conflict. Yes, that's precisely the answer. It will help us greatly to understand our modern, increasingly divided, chaotic situation if we look closely at those forces which divided us in the distant past. So basically, to understand what's going on today, we've got to first look back at the past, look at what divided us then, and then pretty soon you're going to realize it's the same thing now, the same things. All it's just been packaged a bit differently. But the point is that you guys will start to see, you start to join the dots and things will be very clear. Inshallah. Why? They are still dividing forces today. And they shape the contemporary understanding of Islam for many. So religions enjoy an initial period of unity and then descend into increasingly bitter factionalism led by rival hierarchies. Christianity obviously has shown the best example of this. Okay, in the beginning, tight, and then as things progress over time, we start to break into different sects and groups and kind of deteriorate. And you could add other secular groups, the same thing. The founder founds a particular group, movement or group, and then when he dies, the group splits and forms other sects and other groups, and maybe even just disappear altogether. But Islam, very different. You don't find it. We're still Muslim. Yes, there are a few sects, but Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, has remained intact for centuries and will remain. Obviously, we know why. That's Allah's promise. So Islam's ability to avoid this fate is astonishing and demands careful analysis. But we will need to explain some painful exceptions to the rule in this phase of our history. Who would like to read? Ishaq.
The Prophet ﷺ himself had told his companions that whoever among you outlives me shall see a vast dispute. By Tirmidhi.
The Prophet actually said, whoever from amongst the Sahaba, whoever amongst you outlives me, that obviously, past my death, will witness a vast dispute. So the Prophet is already telling people, telling the Sahaba, things, you see big disputes after I pass away. Okay? And obviously we know a lot, and inshallah as we go on, you'll see that a bit more clearly. Vast disputes. The first fitna, tribulation the Sahaba faced. Okay. The disastrous revolt against Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him. Uthman was the third Khalifa. Okay? The people at his time or a group of people during his Khilafah rebelled against him, and the result of this rebelling against Uthman led to his death. Now, Umar before him had been killed by a non-Muslim, and Abu Bakr died a natural death. But this is the first time in the history of Islam that a leader had been killed at the hands of the Muslims. Okay? And there's a lot of discussion there and so on and so forth, but I don't have time to go into it. The point I want you to understand, this was the catalyst for the appearance of sects and groups. Hence, historically, in the history books of Muslims, this is called the first fitna. The first fitna, historically. Okay, so if you hear in books, the first fitna in history books, it talks about the death or the killing of Sayyidina Uthman. Because from there, that's when it started to, problems arose. Okay, this is the catalyst, this is the trigger. And the things had been bubbling prior, and there were people of fitna, people of tribulation, and people who were destabilizing factors that contributed towards this. So there were hypocrites amongst the Muslims that fanned the flames before and after the death of Uthman, and they preferred instability within the Ummah. So there were people shayateen. He wanted to cause problems for the Muslims, and they were known. Okay, and they put things into motion to cause the fitna, and they pushed people things and different ideas, and then people obviously rose against Sayyidina Uthman, and then obviously he was killed. Ibn Kathir, the famous scholar, historian, names the leaders of the trouble as Abdullah bin Sabah, massively important name, Abdullah bin Sabah, Al-Ashtar al-Nakh'i, Sharwa bin Awfa, Salim bin Tha'laba, and Ghulam bin Haytham, amongst others. The most important is the first one, Abdullah ibn Sabah. Abdullah ibn Sabah. Very important name. So keep that in your back of your head. Abdullah bin Sabah. He was a Yemeni convert. He was Christian before he became Muslim, and he kind of brought a lot of ideas and strange things. He was a huge troublemaker for Muslims. Caused a lot of fitna. A lot of fitna. And scholars say that he was the main ringleader that caused the death of Sayyidina Uthman. He himself, obviously, being a bit more brighter, he was pulling the strings. So the actual people who killed Sayyidina Uthman are not these people, but they were the chief troublemakers. Alright, dividing forces of the past and present. There were many of these. Bismillah.
There were many of these, but only two took the form of mass popular movements, driven by religious ideology and in active rebellion against majoritarian faith, scholarship, and leadership. For good reasons, these two acquired the names of Kharijism and Shi'ism. Unlike Sunnism, both were highly productive of splinter groups and sub-movements. They remained and still do as recognizable traditions of dissidents. Kharijism and Shi'ism represent two great divergences from Ahlul Sunnah on the key question of the source of religious authority in Islam. Both had different views to Ahlul Sunnah on leadership, Imam, Caliphate, such as who is most deserving, conditions of a leader, establishing it. Historically, both act in opposition to one another. Not one monolithic block, but have different forms and sects.
Right. So it's very important that Shi'ism and Khawarijism, these two groups developed at the time of the fitna. These kind of arose in Shah. And obviously the point is that, the Shia will explain, when I mention the Nawasib or Nasb, that's the Khawarij, basically. I mentioned two sides of the coin. One side will be the Shia, and the other side of the coin will be the Khawarij. Okay? The idea is that they have radically different ideas in terms of leadership. They split with Ahl Sunnah on the issue of leadership, the Khilafah. Understand?
To a large extent, both Shi'ism and Kharijism in their modern forms today continue to shape and influence how Islam is understood in the contemporary world.
Anybody answer that? How does Shi'ism in modern form shape and influence how Islam is understood in the contemporary world?
Well, theoretically, the big conflicts in the Middle East are between the Sunni and the Shia.
Who knew that? How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that?
And regarding to the
No,
Khawarij,
well, that's a good point. A lot currently in the Middle East, the big conflicts generally, the Sunni Shia, even though it's Sunni, it can be debatable with some of the groups that they claim to be Sunni, but the Shia massively influential, a big player on the world scale right now on the platform. And Khawarijism?
the Khawarijism can be explained to how call it? To Salafism, involve Wahhabism, Salafism, and the Islamic Caliphate, all these movements.
Yeah,
So these two things I think are the most important.
exactly, good. Both were dividing forces in the past and they continue to be so today due to historical, political, geographical, and financial reasons. That will be explained in more detail in the next few lectures, inshallah. But they have massively influential impact on the people, like the Muslims. I would say the vast majority of people sat in front of me has been touched by one of these two groups. Vast majority, if not all of you. I will explore this in detail. Alright, what was the fallout from Sayyidina Uthman's death? Keep going.
There was a difference of opinion on who should be the leader after the death of Uthman. Ahl Hili wal Aqad in Medina gave their bay'ah to Ali, and he was the rightful caliph according to Ahl Sunnah.
So the Muslims in Medina, which is the capital of Islam, they gave their bay'ah to Sayyidina Ali. Okay, and therefore Ahl Sunnah view Sayyidina Ali as he was he was the fourth Khalifa, okay? Because the people Ahl Hilli wal Aqd, they nominated the people whose opinion mattered on this matter in Medina nominated Sayyidina Ali. Okay? However,
People in Sham, however, gave it to Muawiyah.
Sham, you know where Sham is? Syria, that area. It's actually larger than Syria.
Aisha, Zubair, and Talha wanted to find those responsible for the killing of Uthman. Is leadership
So, okay, Bismillah.
is leadership with Quraysh generally or specifically within Ali and his family, Ahlul Bayt?
So Sayyidina Ali, right, he now has inherited a massive mess, complex problems during his Khilafah. Okay? He has now, first of all, to stabilize the Ummah. Okay? Because people had caused so much fitna, okay, that Uthman had been killed. Right? So that had to be dealt with. His leadership also had to be stabilized. Then we have the issue of Muawiyah also, companion, in Sham, that people giving bay'ah to him. Then you have a group who will call themselves Shia, for example, now going into excessiveness in praising him. And on top of that, you've got the Khawarij. And on top of all of that, we need to still find out who killed Sayyidina Uthman. Alright, and some of the Sahaba, like Aisha, and Zubair and Talha, they wanted to know, because obviously Uthman was from their tribe. Who killed him? You see, so all, and Sayyidina Ali, karam Allah wajhahu, inherited all of this. SubhanAllah. So you can see, massively difficult time for Sayyidina Ali. And this concept also comes in, is leadership with Quraysh, generally, anyone from Quraysh, the Prophet said, or specifically within the family of Ali, Ahl Bayt. And that concept, that idea was also played with and contributed towards issues and problems and ideas and sects. But the point is that Sayyidina Ali, subhanAllah, inherited a difficult time, extremely difficult time he had. Alright, again, the first fitna. We're going to go back and have a look at this in a bit more detail. Bismillah. Abdullah, you read.
The killing of the third Khalifa of Islam, Ummah, is seen as the starting point from which the great problems began. It is referred to as the first fitna. In this time of unprecedented instability, the Shia and the Khawarij as movements developed.
Understand, whenever there's instability in the Ummah, these two groups pop up. They're like weeds in the garden. SubhanAllah. Historically, whenever there's instability, these come up. Alright? Because they're the two opposite ends of mainstream classical Islam. These type of groups, they historically look at the Middle East. If you wanted to cause problems between Muslims, alright, these are the two things you play with. You push this a bit there, from this one a bit there, push that one a bit there. These are the two kind of flavors historically that cause problems, and they play out in this day and age.
The fourth Khalifa, Ali had to deal with them and the whole of challenges during his difficult times.
Alright, Shi'ism.
Shiaism is quite diverse, linguistically means party of.
By tonight you will see that the Shia are not one group. It's not one size fits all. There's different groups, and you'll come across that today. They're not all kafir, as some people in this day and age would like you to believe. That is false. They're not all kafir. Absolutely, categorically rejected. But the other side of the coin, the Nawasib, they would have you believe, or the Khawarij, same thing, they would have you believe all Shia are kafir. Completely rejected. Historically, that's not something that is accurate.
Definition: those who claim to love and follow Imam Ali and his family.
Why have I said claim? Those who claim. Why have I not said those who love and follow Imam Ali and his family and Bayt? Why have I said claim? Hands up. What's your name? Tayyib.
Because if they loved the family of the Prophet, then they would hate the Sahaba.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. You can go home. But can I say that again?
Because if they were to love the family of the Prophet, then they would have hated the Sahaba and the Khalifa.
Exactly. MashaAllah. I said it better than I could write it. Yeah. Put that down, inshallah. We're going to write that down. People should write that down. Say it again at a fair time. People should write that down. That's massive. Say it again.
If they were to love the family of the Prophet,
If they were to love the family of the Prophet,
then they would have hated the Sahaba.
then they would not hate the Sahaba. Write that down. If you were to leave tonight with nothing but that written down on your phone or on your feet or wherever, alhamdulillah. You left just with that, I'd be happy. Obviously, if you leave with more, I'd be more happy. But that alone, mashallah, is pretty much a good thing to leave with. Keep going.
But common to all Shiism is an allegiance to the family of the Prophet, and usually specifically to Ali and his descendants, as well as recognition of their right to spiritual and temporal authority in the Muslim community after the Prophet. Thus, Shiism began largely as a political movement aimed to solve the problem of political authority in the community by establishing a legitimate line of divinely guided leaders.
So,
Shi'i piety rests on an ethos of suffering and martyrdom, reflecting the failed political struggles of the past. Shi'ism has, throughout the ages, retained a dynamic character, frequently changing, making it difficult to comment on at times.
Right, so those who claim, obviously we mentioned that, but common to all Shia, all the groups, the common thread, the common denominator is an allegiance to the family of the Prophet Ahlul Bayt. Specifically to Sayyidina Ali and his descendants, Ahlul Bayt, as well as a recognition of their right to spiritual and temporal authority in the Muslim community after the Prophet. In other words, for the Shi'as, they believe Abu Bakr should not have been the Khalifa. They should have been Ali. Now, how strong they are on that point, they differ. How strong they are, how staunch they are on that particular, they differ. Okay, but generally they all kind of agree on that one point. So it's a political movement aimed to solve the problem of political authority. The problem that it's very dynamic and it frequently changes, making it difficult to comment. The Shia of the past, okay, no, the Shia of today no longer say openly some of the things that have been said in the past. Alright, so you can say, oh, in the book, kada wa kada, it says this. And they say, well, we don't say that anymore. That was things of the past. We don't say that anymore. For example. And as we go around tonight, I'll give you examples of that. It's quite difficult to try and pinpoint. Hence, when I say we don't call Shia kafir, alright, I really do mean that. Because some people today, some scholars today, the Nawasib, or the more extreme, the other flip side of the coin, again, pushing heavily, they are kafir. It's not. They're not kafir. Not all, at least. Keep going.
On the basis of this and other traditions wherein the Shia claim that the Prophet ﷺ directly or indirectly designated Ali as his successor, Shi'i traditions and theologians constructed an elaborate legal and theological system of legitimate authority based on the doctrine of imama or imamate. This meant the divine designation of the imams as a succession of a particular man from Ali and his descendants.
Alright, so basically what they are saying, alright, they are saying that what the Shia are saying, that we know who the leaders are. After the Prophet is Sayyidina Ali. After Sayyidina Ali, it's kada wa kada. And you have specific names of imams. And what they claim is that the Prophet specified somebody specifically to be the leader. And that was Sayyidina Ali. And they have certain hadiths and certain things that they will use. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we reject that. Why? Because we say that the Prophet did not specify a particular person specifically, directly. The Prophet did kind of indicate, yes. But to name somebody specifically, like so-and-so, no. They, the Shia, say that's what they believe. The Prophet did designate somebody specifically. And that's kind of where they have issues, because they say, they would claim that Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman robbed it, took it away from Ahlul Bayt. And that's kind of one of many reasons that they have issues with the Sahaba like Abu Bakr and Umar. Hence, that's one of the reasons why they curse that. Obviously, we don't believe in that. But this is quite important: the divine designation of the imams as succession. So, what they believe is that Allah has specifically mentioned these imams, these leaders. In other words, it's not, we get, not like Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they come and they pick somebody from amongst themselves. No, the Shia tradition is come from God. These are people who've been nominated by God Himself. Alright? That's where they absolutely differ with us. Among the imams, only Ali ever served a widely acknowledged political ruler. Obviously, he was the fourth caliph. So, from the Shia tradition, they would say that out of all the khulafa, you kind of recognize Ali, because obviously he was there, and ours imam. No other imam after Sayyidina Ali. You could argue Sayyidina Hassan as well. You could argue. Anyway, after Ali,
After Ali, different lineages of his descendants and sometimes other relatives were considered. Eventually, most Shi'i came to revere a lineage of Ali and 11 of his descendants. This forms the basis for the 12er Shia group, which we shall explore in detail.
We're going to explore this particular group in detail and other groups as well. But the idea is that a particular branch of the Prophet's family, specifically Sayyidina Ali and his offspring, they are the leaders of the Ummah. That's where they all kind of agree. All the Shia groups, they kind of agree on that. Alright, so anybody know the three main sects of Shiism? Anybody know?
Zaydi, Ismaili, and Focus.
Have you seen this before? Spoiler alert. Alright, today, can you keep your mind? Might as well finish up reading it.
Today, three major sects of Shiism survive. The Batiniya, which include the Ismailis, the Alawis, and the Nusris. The Zaydis are concentrated in northern Yemen. They arose from the followers of Zayd, killed 740. The main and the largest sects is the Imamis, or Jafaris, or Twelvers.
All mean the same thing.
They are a majority in Iran, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, and Iraq, and a plurality in Lebanon, as well as being numerous in Eastern Arabia and Southern Asia. They have been officially recognized in Iran since 1500.
Okay.
The Zaydis and the Twelvers share with Sunnis a law-based emphasis, thus upholding the Sharia and Muslim law.
According to their interpretation. Okay.
The Ismailis and the rest is not.
So today, alright, historically there were 70 sects of Shias. Today that most of them are extinct. Pretty much this is what you have today. You've got the first group, the Batiniya, okay, and essentially that are the Ismailis, okay, quite famous, and the Alawis. Not the Alawi tariqa in Algeria or the Ba'alawis of Hadramaut, two different things. A lot of ignorant people mix them up. The Alawi are a branch of the Shia. The Zaydis, obviously in the north of Yemen heavily, and obviously they came from the followers of Imam Zayd. Okay, but by the way, quite important, the 12 Imams that we're going to talk about, alright, they are not Imams, they are not the sole exclusive property of the Shias. Alright? They are our Imams. They are Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah's Imams first and foremost. That's massively important. I'm not sure there's some heads going like that, which is good. They are Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We have a greater right to them than people of Bid'ah. You know, so that's very important. I don't want you leaving the class thinking that the great Imams, Ja'far al-Sadiq and so on and so on, these great Imams that have come from the Prophet's family are Imams of the Shia just because they've claimed. No, it's not. They're the Imams of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, first and foremost. And wherever things are being relayed by them that go against traditions of Islam, they are rejected as being falsified against them. Because a lot has been falsified against them. Okay? And the most important and the largest are the Imamis, or the Ja'faris, or the Twelvers. Why are they called 12? Is Athna Ashariya. Yeah, because they have 12 Imams, specifically. So these are the three sects of Shi'as, inshallah. Very important, the Zaydis and the Twelvers, okay, or the Imamis or Ja'faris, whatever you want to call it, they have a law-based foundation, meaning that they have a Sharia, they have a law. Right? It's slightly different to Ahlul Sunnah, but they do have a law. Okay? And they obviously they have a Sharia. The Ismailiyya and the Alawis, the first, don't have a law. That's quite important for us going forward. Shia populations, very interesting. One of you guys read. You're eating, so you read. Oh, you did it when I pointed and you put it in his mouth.
The main sectarian division in Islam is that of the Sunni, about 88%, and the Shia is about 12%.
Can you guys at the back hear him? Hear who? Inshallah. A bit louder, yeah?
Today, the Shia majority countries are Iran, 90%, Azerbaijan, 90%, Bahrain, 70%, and Iraq, 60%.
Does any of that surprise anybody here? Hands up. What surprises you?
In Iraq, Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain surprised me. Like 70. I mean, look, these numbers may differ slightly from one person to another person, but 70%. I was shocked, to see that. Anybody else surprised?
Azerbaijan.
Hands up. Azerbaijan. Anybody else surprised?
I may have it wrong, but I know Iran and Iraq used to have conflicts in the contemporary world. I thought that had to do with the separation between Sunnis and Shias or something.
It does. Different topic for a different time.
But if they're
Question at the end. Because there's a guy who put his hand up and I had to. It's not fair, close him down, don't close you. We'll have questions at the end, inshallah. Because I have a lot to do. And I know you guys are going to fall asleep. If I knew you guys weren't going to fall asleep, I'd open questions right now, but I need to keep you guys awake as long as possible to gain the most amount of concentration in this class. Okay, Lebanon, who's reading? This is
Lebanon has plurality of Shias, 45%, not a majority. Important Shia minorities exist in Turkey, Syria, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. Yemen has about 40% Zaydi Shias who are closer to the Sunnis. Other Muslim states are exclusively or almost exclusively Sunni.
That's about the Zaydi Shias in Yemen, very, very close to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Very, very close. Okay, we'll talk about it in a bit more detail. Alright, I mentioned that there are Sharia sects and non-Sharia sects. Who can remember which are those sects of Shias that follow the Shia, that follow the Sharia? The Zaydians, they follow a Sharia law-based approach. And those that don't are
The Bataniyas.
Ismailis. Huh?
The Bataniyas.
The bottom, yeah? They don't. So we're going to have a look at this in a bit more detail. Bismillah.
Two sects do not emphasize the practice of the law and exalt their imams to divine status.
Again, remember the issue of the Shia, they have imams. They reject the Khulafa. They have their own imams that they think and they claim to be that the rightly guide. And they elevate them. Some sects elevate them really, really high. Almost high as Allah. You find out right now.
The Ismailis, mostly found in South Asia, especially India, and places with Indian diaspora, they developed from Ismail, whom they consider the seventh Imam. They also have living Imams to this day. The Alawites, or Nusaris, are found in Syria and Turkey. They Ali.
Who knows what that means? Seriously, you guys. Seriously. Anybody below the age of 25? Hands up. Who knows what? What's the name? Huh?
To give the status of the deity, to kind of like be given divine authority.
Yeah. In other words, the Alawis or the Nusayris in particular of the Shia, they basically give, in their view, they give Sayyidina Ali almost basically God-like status. Alright, that's the issue, right? That's the issue.
The Zaydis and the Twelvers share with Sunnis a law-based emphasis, thus upholding the Sharia, Muslim law, and are regarded as Muslims.
Again, we'll come back to this. Right? The Zaydis and the 12 Athna Ashariya are regarded historically as Muslims. Okay? Historically. And also right now, by knowledge.
The doctrine of non-Sharia sects, the Ismailis.
So what do the non-Sharia sects of Shi'ism, the Ismailis, Okay, so what is it that they believe? What's it all about?
Basic to the Ismaili faith and worldview is the doctrine of divinity of the Imam and the absolute temporal and religious authority.
So they claim divinity, that the Imam is divine, higher than prophets. That's the kind of area we're looking at, divine.
Ahlul Sunnah considers anyone that follows this as outside of Islam.
Right. So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, okay, do not consider this approach as Muslim. They are non-believers. Alright? And Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah generally they don't call people kafir lightly. Right? With this, because you're making your Imam, as high as prophets. Yeah, and they kind of give the Imams similar type of things. For example, they say that in Sunni Islam, we say that the prophets are infallible, ma'soom. What does that mean? They cannot sin. Major sin or minor sin, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah do not hold the belief that prophets can sin. Alright? And that's only reserved for prophets and messengers. The Shia say no, that's for their Imams as well. The Imams also have that type level of divine protection from God. Obviously, that's rejected according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
This fundamental doctrine was developed with the Neoplatonic philosophical system by a number of famous Ismaili philosophers and theologians over the centuries. The doctrine of divinity of the Imam resulted in Ismailism becoming an esoteric cult that spread through an active network of missionaries and agents of the Imams and their deputies. The Aga Khan is the leader of one branch of present-day Ismailis. The Ismailis tend to be well-to-do, liberal, and uninterested in the Sharia.
Anybody know of any people from this particular sect? Don't mention names. Any hands up, anybody know? Is that roughly kind of your experience of them?
Yeah.
That doesn't absolve you of da'wah, right? So we've dealt with the Ismailis, now we're looking at the Alawis. Okay, again, we're still within the realm of non-Sharia sects. There's nothing in his mouth, so you read.
The doctrine of non-Sharia sects, the Alawis and Nusayris. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Arising in the 9th century in Iraq, at best, the Nusayris are also known as Alawis because they regard Ali as an incarnation of God.
What does that mean? Hands up.
That's enough.
God will come down and
Okay. Something else?
An extended version of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also believe in reincarnation and the necessity of escaping from the cycle of death and rebirth like the Buddhists and Hindus. Mostly based in Turkey and Syria.
Pay attention. Not everybody in Syria and Turkey are Nusayris, alright? In case anybody's, you'd be surprised at the kind of people who come across. Well, you said it, like, I said, no, I didn't, you weren't listening. Alright, just in case someone's not paying attention, alright? They are mostly based in Turkey and Syria. It doesn't mean that everybody in Turkey and Syria are like this.
They do not practice the law or uphold the pillars of practice like other Muslims. This causes them not to be recognized as non-Muslim by other Muslims.
Okay, kind of obvious, right? If you believe that type of stuff, then you're outside the fold of Islam. Okay? And obviously, you kind of expect this to happen because they are non-Sharia. They don't have the guidance, the foundations, all the speed limits there in place by our Sharia to prevent them going into excessiveness. So if you take away the speed limit, you get all kinds of car crashes, as things happening. This is an example. Right, now we're going to look at the Zaydis. Bismillah. Keep going.
The doctrine of Sharia sects, the Zaydis.
So now we're looking at the Sharia sects, alright? These are a bit more closer to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And the Zaydis, by the way, are the closest to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
Zayd followers established a legal school bearing his name and based on his theological and legal ideas. In contrast to all other Shia schools, the Zaydis accept the legitimacy of the caliphates of Abu Bakr and Umar, although they too hold that Ali was the rightful Imam after Muhammad.
Why is this interesting about the Zaydis? This last point. Why is that interesting? Why is it different? Hands up. Why is that different?
Because like everyone else, you know, there's not much more. They don't think Ali was the
Halfway there. Why is that interesting?
The element of like rejection is not there, they still.
What's your name?
Amir,
Say that again.
the element of rejection is not there, so like wrong is not there.
Yes. Rough. What's rough?
Rejectors.
Rejection. So rejection of who? Of? Say that one, Amir, say it. Yeah, specifically the rejection of Abu Bakr and Umar. The Zaydis don't reject Umar or Abu Bakr. They don't reject them. Others do. The Zaydis don't. They recognize the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar. And they don't claim that they robbed it from Sayyidina Ali or Ahlul Bayt. They recognize it. Right? But they prefer Ali would have been, but they recognize it as legitimate. And that's massively important. And that one point there, okay, the ulama, classical Sunni Orthodox Muslims, some of them have even said that the Zaydi is not even Shia. They're Qism the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Some have gone to say that. I know some scholars who have that belief. And they are Ahlul Sunnah themselves.
They further hold that the Imam must be a descendant of either Al-Hassan or Al-Hussein, Ali's two sons from Fatima.
So again, the idea of the Imams are from Quraysh. Okay? Again, the Shia kind of like zoom in a bit more and say, well, no, it can't be anybody from Quraysh. It's got to be from the Prophet's family. Alright?
He must, however, claim the office and support his claim by rising up with the sword of Islam against injustice and oppression.
Still you?
The Zaydi school belongs to the moderate wing of Shiism and possesses a rich legal and theological tradition.
Very close to the Hanafi school. The Zaydis are very close to the Hanafis. So I have a book at home, 2-volume book, that tells you the similarities between the Zaydis in fiqh. Because obviously we're talking about a Sharia-based sect. You have a Sharia. I have a book at home that tells you the similarities between the Hanafi school and the Zaydi school. A lot of similarities there.
It includes to this day about 40,000 people in Yemen, along with the Shafi'i legal school.
The Shafi'i legal school tends to be the rest. So 60% of Yemen are Shafi'i, 40% are Zaydi.
The Zaydis are now without an Imam, as the last Imam was overthrown by the Yemeni revolution in 1962 and died in exile. They are the closest of the Shia to Ahlul Sunnah, with some even regarding them as Ahlul Sunnah.
The main sect of Shias, the Twelvers, don't even consider the Zaydis as Shia, historically. They consider the Zaydis as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And sadly, the Zaydis, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, kind of look at them as being Shia. So they're kind of in the middle, rejected by both. Like, we're subhanAllah, they're more close to Ahlul Sunnah. Alright, now this is the main group. The Twelvers, in either Ithna Ashariya, or the Imamis, or Ja'faris, and the idea of succession, leadership. These three names generally refer to this particular group. Okay? Right, who wants to... Amir? Bismillah.
Under the 12th Shia tradition, the doctrine of Imama leadership, we mentioned earlier, was fully elaborated.
Remember we mentioned before about the idea of 12, these imams that come from the Prophet's family, alright, and there's several or 12. The 12 of the Shias developed that massively. Okay, and ideas and understandings and the whole network developed around the idea of these 12 imams. Okay?
According to this doctrine, the Prophet ﷺ is claimed.
It is claimed.
It is claimed through divine designation, appointed Ali as his vice general or legate wasi by a testament wasiya.
So the 12ers, the Ithna Ashariya or the Imams or Ja'faris, in their tradition, they claim, again, because we don't consider that to be true, so they claim through divine designation that the Prophet was told by Allah, that's what they claim, that the Imam after the Prophet was Sayyidina Ali. Okay, and that was by wasi. He was chosen specifically by a testament wasiyah. And the thing is, there are hadith within the Sunni tradition that would indicate that. But the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have interpreted it in a different way to how the Shia have interpreted it.
Ali in turn appointed his son Al-Hassan to succeed him as Imam, and Al-Hassan appointed his brother Al-Hussein. Thereafter, each Imam designated his successor, usually his oldest son, all descendants of Al-Hussein.
So this is the kind of the backbone of the 12ers, the succession of Ahlul Bayt, one after another. All picked, by the way, by God. That's important. All these 12 Imams are picked by God. Okay, so the next Imam would be divinely inspired by God to nominate the next one. That's what they believe.
And so the line of Imams continued.
Read the title.
The doctrine of the hidden Imams.
The hidden Imam. Anybody know about this idea of the hidden Imam that the 12 have? Okay. We'll look at it in a bit more detail.
And so the line of Imams continued to the 12th Imam, who was the 9th descendant of Al-Hussein. He did not die, but went into the lesser occultation at the age of 4.
How many of you even understand the word occultation?
I had to look it up.
I don't know. Alright, you have to look it up, because I told you to. What does it mean?
It's a bit more complicated, but basically it's someone who has taken the position, but the other is behind in the shadows. This other person has taken the position in front as the legal authority, as the main body. It's
Simply put,
Shadow government?
No idea.
it's more used in celestial position, like the moon, and
the
then.
more you're trying, the more difficult
Okay,
it gets. Let's just go along the slide and see. I can't do that on purpose. Who's reading?
Me.
Keep going.
Sorry. He did not die, but went into a lesser occultation at the age of 4 years in 874, when he was last seen in a dungeon under the Abbasid Caliph's palace in Samarra in Iraq. Until
Keep going.
until
Don't be scared.
941. Until 941, the hidden Imam communicated with his followers through 4 successive deputies or wakils. He then entered his greater occultation, which Imamis believe will last till the end of the world. In this occultation, he is living but concealed from view.
So this 12th Imam, basically, is somebody who they believe is still alive several centuries later, but he's kind of hidden. And him coming back into the world will usher in the end of time. So that's the Mahdi. In the Shia tradition, the Mahdi is looked at as being the 12th Imam, who's basically removed himself, like hidden from the world. You know, so that's what occultation means, like hidden. Right? Where he can see what's going on, he's kind of hidden behind this barrier, and so on and so forth. And then towards the end of time with Isa, so on and so forth, before the day of resurrection, he and Jesus will return to establish universal justice and true Islam on earth. So when the Shia say the Mahdi, that's what they mean. That's what they mean. Very different to us. In what way? And in what way is it different?
We believe that would be a descendant from Africa.
Yeah, they do the same thing.
Not somebody from the year 900.
All right, yeah. Okay. Anything else different?
Jesus will be the Mahdi. No, sorry.
No, whoa, what's in the sect? Go on, you second time. No.
You say that the person who is going to be Imam Mahdi will not know he's Imam Mahdi.
Yeah.
Also, is it the name? Okay. You know, like in Arabic, yeah.
The name. All right, we'll have a look at that in a second. But obviously, the Shia tradition and the Mahdi is very different to Ahl Sunnah. Very important for those who don't know.
This is the Mahdi according to the Shia tradition. Ahlul Sunnah does not believe in this.
Not in the idea of the Mahdi, but in their understanding of the Mahdi. MashaAllah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so the 12 Imams. Okay, we're going to look at their names and who they are. It's quite important. Again, please, these are first and foremost Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah. We have a greater right for these Imams. Just sad that people have kind of like Ahl Sunnah backed away and kind of left them to the Shia tradition. They are as much our Imams as they are. They are more our Imams than the Shia Imam tradition. But it's very important to understand that. Alright, Ali ibn Abi Talib. May Allah ennoble his face. Again, 599-661. Burial place Al-Najaf in Iraq. Okay. Hassan ibn Ali, 625-670. Al-Madinah in present day, or the Hijaz, as I like to call it. Number 3, Hussein ibn Ali, Karbala, Iraq. Zayn al-Abidin in Medina. Muhammad al-Baqir al-Medina. Ja'far al-Sadiq al-Medina. Musa al-Kadhim in Iraq. Ali al-Rida in Iran. Muhammad al-Taqi in Iraq. Ali al-Hadi al-Naqi in Iraq. Hassan al-Askari in Iraq. And the 12th is Muhammad al-Mahdi. So you couldn't get the idea that al-Mahdi would be called al-Mahdi. They kind of said, well, he's called Mahdi anyway. So that's why I want that point to put up. And obviously, born 868 and presently still alive in this occultation. Okay? Again, these are our Imams. Ja'far al-Sadiq, the great Imam of Ahl Sunnah. The Sunni scholars of Islam, okay, when they began to see that the Shia tradition began to monopolize these Imams and started to invent things, it triggered a response from Ahl Sunnah to start writing about these Imams in a correct light and to mention the praises and merit, because some people began to move away from these Imams and kind of disown them. That's kind of the problem. Now these are our Imams. Okay, so they're the 12 Imams of the Ithna Ashariya, the largest sect of Shia Islam in this day and age. They're 12 Imams. Okay? Because you will come across people in the prayer room, okay, who belong to this sect. Right? We have international students and they belong to this sect. It's as Muslims that you know what other sects are or what they believe in. Alright, somebody else. You okay to read?
Right. In fact, the fundamental belief of the necessary existence of the Imams as guardians of the Sharia and guides to its correct interpretation and implementation by the community constitutes the essential point of difference between Shia and Sunni legal tradition.
Right, it's important. The fundamental belief in the necessary existence of Imams. Shia's belief in the necessary existence of these Imams, okay, as guides of this world, and the correct implementation of the community constitutes an essential point of difference. So between the Shia and Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this is the main point between Ahl Sunnah and the Shia. the necessary existence of the 12 Imams as leaders, as people who have been divinely chosen. We don't believe in that.
The Imam is believed to be the proof or argument of Hujjah, or of God, over his human creatures. Hence, the earth cannot be without an Imam, be he manifest and active in the management of the affairs of the community, or hidden from human sight and perception. Example, the 12th.
The 12 Imam. Okay? Alright. What do you know about the Shi'as and the Sunnah? Like the Hadith in particular, what do you know? Hands up.
They don't follow the same books as us.
I don't follow. Okay. Anything from the sisters at the back?
Would they reject hadith from Aisha?
Alright, hands up.
Would they reject the hadith from Abu Bakr and Aisha?
Yeah, they would reject that. Hands up next so I can see.
They even reject hadith from Abu Hurairah?
Al-Bukhari answer?
I'm sorry, if you can't obey the rules, then subhanAllah, it's I'm not being rude. If you guys are being rude when I say put your hands up, you don't put your hands up. It's sorry, if I like the rules, not my problem. Simple as that.
The books will come down one book called Al-Kafi. It's like, like we have Bukhari, the book name is Imam Bukhari.
Yeah.
Another one from there.
Okay, interesting. Alright. Despite the doctrine, mistake there, despite the doctrine of the imamate, this idea of 12 imams, 12 Shi'ism remains, along with Zaydism, the closest legal school to Sunni orthodoxy. Let's have a moment there and pause. Why do you think I've put legal in bold, black? Why have I done that? It's quite deliberate.
Is it because it refers to like a big issue, like the son of the Prophet rather than he that was
Excellent. That's it. That was it. Exactly. I put legal, right, in bold, dark. It's because legally they're quite close. In Aqidah, they're not. In Aqidah, beliefs are different. Alright, there are big differences historically. No one denies that. But legally, they're very close. Hence, I put that in there to trigger that in your mind when you come to read this. Someone you reading? Oh, there it is.
12 Shia agree with Sunni Muslims on the centrality of the Quran and Sunnah as the primary sources of Islamic law.
How many people believe, subhanAllah, Muslims, the Shias don't follow the Quran and the Sunnah? Alright? How many of you have come across people who believe that? Maybe the non-Sharia sects, okay, yeah, maybe, perhaps the Nusayris, the Alawis, the Ismailis, possibly. But the rest, the biggest sect, the Athna al-Sharia and the Zaydis, that's not true of them. They follow the Quran. And they follow a Sunnah, they do.
They, however, define the Sunnah not simply as the life example of the Prophet Muhammad and his generation, but as the life example of the Prophet and those who believe to be his rightful successors, the Imams. All have prescriptive authority. Hence, the Sunnah for the 12 Shia Muslims extends over a period of 3 centuries, from the time of the Prophet to the end of the lesser occultation of the 12 Imam.
Have a look at that last point. Have a look at, read that last point to yourselves here. So, hands up for the 15th time. The difference between the Sunnis, Ahlul Sunnah Jama'ah, and the Shia would be what? Based on that last point.
Sunnis believe that the son of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is from prophethood all the way to the end of his life. Everything done.
Come back a few steps. You're nearly there. Look at it again. You're nearly there. And you took a detour. Follow the sat nav. You get lost. Read the last point again. Have a difference between the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the Shia tradition with what in terms of the Sunnah?
For us, the Sunnah is what the Prophet did and the Prophet followed. I think for them it extends to the Imams as well.
Exactly. Exactly. For us, it's what the Prophet ﷺ did. Okay? And obviously, there are narrations of the Sahaba, which are important, obviously. Right? With the Shia, they extend their 12 Imams, what their 12 Imams, what they claim that their 12 Imams said, has the same legitimacy as Sunnah of the Prophet. So for them, alright, it didn't just stop at the time of the Prophet, it went on. And that's why their traditions are very different. There's a lot of overlap, but there's a lot of new material, because whatever the other Imams after said over several centuries, that also is incorporated into the Hadith literature. You understand that? Good. Bismillah. Who was reading? Are you tired? Pick somebody else. Hassan, before they sleep there. Let's wake you up there.
The differences on the Sunnah. The Shia chains of transmitters usually employ different persons than the Sunnis do. Ahl Sunnah and Shias do not recognize each other's collections. Ahl Sunnah have a vast and extensive system of authentication for their hadith. The Shia do not.
That's just a fact. The sophistication of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in their hadiths, and how they've ordered, how they've authenticated, has not been matched by any other sect. SubhanAllah. That, you want to see Allah's protecting His deen, you see it through this. How Allah has protected this deen through hadiths and the preservation and the classification of hadiths. That's how the deen has been preserved, quite clearly. The Shia have nothing near, the Shia tradition has nowhere near the extensive system that the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah has.
Nevertheless, there is much overlap in content.
Has to be fair, okay, to be fair. There is a lot of overlap. Alright? There is a lot of overlap.
12 hadith collections. Just as the Sunnis recognize 6 major collections of hadith as a
Who knows the 6 major collections of hadith in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? 1, 2. Seriously? Alright, go on then, let's hear them.
Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Jami' al-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, An-Nasai, and Ibn Majah.
Good, yeah, they're the 6 books. You guys should know that, by the way. You guys should know that. If you look back on the notes, I have given out before on the notes we've done in the past in the slides. Have a look. You need to know that.
Just as the 6 Sunnis recognize 6 major collections of hadith as authoritative, so the Shia
A bit louder,
is
a
recognized
bit more clearer,
different collections.
a bit more life.
These are called by the 4 books.
Alright, so we have 6, and the Shia tradition split into 12s, Athna Ashariya, alright? They have 4. So what are these books in case you ever see them? I read this, but different. Al-Kafi, alright? And that's by Al-Kulayni, 941. من لا يحضره الفقيه by Ibn Babawayh al-Qummi, also known, his nickname as Sheikh al-Saduq, the truthful Sheikh. من لا يحضره الفقيه, in his book they have. Al-Istibsar by Sheikh al-Ta'ifi, the Jewish doctor of the community, as he's called, Abu Ja'far al-Tuzi. Tahdib al-Ahkam, also by al-Tuzi. So, for them, the Sunnah collection of hadith is contained within those books. And as we know, it extends far beyond the Prophet ﷺ and incorporates what the Imams have said. Okay, or what they claim the Imams have said.
There are also other Shia collections of hadith. The hadith have less importance in Shiism than in Sunnism, because the Shia religious leaders or mujtahids have more discretionary religious authority and thus are less reliant on specific texts.
So whatever the Imams of their tradition say, can have a greater impact than what the hadith say. So sometimes those they're divinely, inspired individuals, what they're saying, what the Imam's saying, as if the Prophet's saying it. Okay? So the point that he may go against the hadith, and they have no problem with that. Why? Because that particular individual has the status of the Prophet in terms of authority. Alright, they're all scholars. Bismillah.
The Shiites, the centrality of the doctrine of Imam and the necessity of the existence of an Imam were firmly established. However, from the start of the great accusation in 941, the Imam that was living was inaccessible.
Because now he's gone away, he's ghaib, he's hidden. Alright? How are you going to contact? How are you going to hear? How are you going to know what's going on? How is he going to advise people if he's absent?
Thus, in his absence, the scholars of the community were delegated to fulfill his role, however imperfectly, as guided in Sharia. This in turn led to the understanding that ijtihad, or personal reasoning, had to go on, but the Jewish consensus had to be limited to the ijma of the scholars only.
Moving on. There are some similarities. Alright? Have to be true, have to be fair. Unlike the Ismailis and Nusayris, the 12ers, Athna Ashariya, having a Sharia-based legal school, have generally been accepted by the rest of the Muslim community and Muslim Jama'ah. Despite all of that, the idea of the 12 Imams and so on and so forth, they have been accepted as Muslim. Not Ahlul Sunnah, but Muslim. And some of you are like shocked, right? How on earth are they, as Muslims historically, classified as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah are not in the business of pushing people out of Islam. They will look for ways to keep people within Islam. That's the hallmark of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The hallmark of people of bid'ah, they try to push people out. As many people out as possible. However, the Ismailis and the Nusayris are not. And we've explained why. Ahlul Sunnah also respect the family of the Prophet of the Shia, and I've explained that why. They're as much our Imams as they are their Imams. Genuine efforts continue to be made at resolving outstanding legal differences amongst all legal schools. And this is quite important. Some have talked about 8 schools. Pay attention, we've mentioned 4, right? Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Some of the scholars, there's been a big movement to recognize more of the schools. So there are 4 recognized Sunni ones, Ahlul Sunnah, Maliki, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, Ahlul Sunnah. And then there's another school that they've called Sunni, the Bahari school. And then you have the Ibadi, Khariji school in Oman. We'll talk about it later on in the next class. And the 2 legal Shia schools, the Zaydis and the Imami 12ers, Athna Ashariya. You want to learn a bit more? It's something called the Amman statement in Jordan, stating there the idea of basically saying that those schools are recognized, and I think pretty much all those sects, all those schools put their name and pen to paper to acknowledge everybody else on that list. And they also signed to not make takfir, to call other Muslims on that list as kafir. It's called the Amman Declaration, the statement, well worth reading. However, sadly, some political developments like the uprising and so on and all the problems kind of sidelined that somehow. Otherwise that would have been a beautiful thing to unify the Ummah. Because there are differences. These people now say, why can't we all be the same? That person who says that just hasn't grasped Islam or understood Islam correctly. Maybe you haven't got enough knowledge. There are differences. I don't know, it has been differences, but me tolerating your difference is a hell of a lot better than me killing you and calling you a kafir. And that's that approach, that Amman statement, which a lot of scholars put a name to it, it was a big step in that direction to stop that from happening. Alright, key points to keep in mind. Summary. Ahlul Sunnah generally agree that the Shia are Muslim, with the exceptions we mentioned before, and should be respected. Every individual has the sanctity of the Shahada. So when you see somebody coming in and placing a stone on the ground and beginning to pray, they're Muslim. They have differences? Yes. But they're Muslim. Do not call them kafir. Do not. Anybody leave this room thinking that, they've been asleep. They are not. That's not me talking, that's the classical understanding of Islam. That's what they're saying, that's what the ulama have said. Only those sects whom Ahl Sunnah have agreed are disbelievers can be called so. However, should somebody say they are Alawi or Nusayri as Shia, don't start calling them kafir. Why? Because most of them don't even know what it is. It's like the family. So when they say I'm a Nusayri or I'm a Ismaili, because they kind of inherited that from their father or from their parents, if you ask them what it means, they might not know too much about it. And here's you all with your big, heavy fist calling them a kafir, and they're not a kafir, because the thing you are accusing them of being, they're not. Just like there are many Muslims today who are Muslim by name, and that's about it. Very important. I'm not giving this class for you now to go out and start calling people kafir. That's not what I'm trying to do. Ahl Sunnah dislike the idea of their hearts being filled with hatred of any Muslim, let alone anyone from the Sahaba, let alone those who are from the Sahaba and from the Prophet's family. And that's what I've just said there, inshallah. Alright, and the next class will be the Khawarij, inshallah. Now, any questions?